Our third awardee, this is the Muslims for Peace Leadership Award, Leadership with Ethics, Morals, and Values, and it will be presented to Sami Shaban by Karim Shaban, his son. Sami Shaban currently serves on the Board of Education in Franklin, as well as the planning boards for both Franklin Township and Somerset County. He's a founder and/or board member for many nonprofits, including the Islamic Relief Endowment and CILRU, Chaplaincy at Rutgers University. Recently, Sami has been involved in forming the New Jersey Muslim Coalition, a grouping of the largest masajid and centers in New Jersey. But prior to the above, he worked for the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, on their core management team as a chief of staff to the CEO, responsible for the management of research, corporate counsel, and compliance for departments, as well as a portfolio of projects. Currently, Sami is also a small business owner with multiple restaurants and is also a practicing attorney with 14 years of experience counseling businesses and nonprofit institutions. Clearly, a long resume, a long-standing commitment to excellence in his career pursuits as well as to the community. Please help me welcome him and his son to the podium to accept this award.
Thank you to the organizers for bringing us here today. What a wonderful gathering. I mean, mashallah, the room is filled. Last year, when I spoke to you all, I had mentioned that 17 members of my family had been killed in Palestine. That number is now 37. I think of my young cousin, Muhammad, who was just born 2 months ago. What world is he coming into? What does he represent? Muhammad's father was 21 years old when he was shot and killed earlier this year. His mother was also shot, but she survived and she's now paralyzed. My uncle, who would be his great uncle, was also shot and killed. His mother's father and mother were also both shot and killed. So what does Muhammad's life represent to us? What do we learn from that? What do we take from these lessons? For some, it'll be a representation of the pain of the past, like our last speaker was mentioning. For others, it'll be a hope for the future. For me, what I learn and what I've learned from many of my family members is perspective. It's hard work. It's what it means to lose everything and to still believe that God is good, that everything in this world has a purpose. But within that meaning, we need to sort of double click a little bit and for ourselves learn a new thing, which is change. We need change. The title of this program is Prophet Muhammad, A Voice for the Oppressed. A Voice for the Oppressed. But I would argue that the Prophet ﷺ's biggest achievement was not actually being the voice for the oppressed, but teaching all of us how to be the voices collectively for all of the oppressed. Leadership is not just speaking on behalf of those that have no voice. Leadership is creating agency in those oppressed voices to be able to speak up for themselves. That's what real leadership is. The Prophet ﷺ famously said in a hadith, help the oppressed and help the oppressor. When the Sahaba around him, his companions said, what do you mean by, we understand the help the oppressed, but how do you help the oppressor? He said, you help the oppressor by preventing them from their oppression. The Prophet ﷺ said another hadith that I think complements this one well, which is whenever you see an evil, change it with your hand. And if not with your hand, then change it with your voice. And if not with your voice, then change it with your heart. See, these two hadith to me epitomize what leadership looks like. Leadership is giving agency to everybody. The Prophet ﷺ was giving each and every one of you, Muslims and non-Muslims in this room, the agency to make those changes by your hand. What does change with your hand look like? Get involved. Get involved in those civic corporations, those civic organizations, whether it's the Board of Education, whether it's our Congress, like our two wonderful congressional people. Let's give them a round of applause. These are two ladies that have actually changed things with their hands. Both of them against odds. Sister Ilhan is an immigrant that wears hijab from Africa that now represents an entire district of people in the middle of Minnesota. Right? We're not talking about one of the most populated Muslim places. No. Her people elected her because they thought she was the best representation of what they had to offer. And so when we say, oh, but I can't do anything, oh, but I have this, I have that. Ilhan also had 3 children. Her youngest one was 3 years old when she made that dive. Get involved and change things with your hand. But if you can't do it with your hand, at least do it with your voice, your tongue. Say something. Do something. You could do it online, you could do it in person. We just heard about how we need to have health care. But yet, our country is deciding to send $27 billion and more to countries that already have 100% health care. Call that out. Call out those hypocrisies. We have so many uses for that money. We can use it for our own education, for our own health care, to provide jobs, to do so much in our own country. Why are we prioritizing? These are sound arguments, not because I'm Palestinian, but because I'm American. And from that, you will find that you will change. Because if I go up and I say, well, stop this because it's bad for Palestine, what does that mean to any American? Hey, stop this because you're actually hurting yourself. America is becoming, in a lot of ways, the thing that it hates. Right? We're becoming isolated. We're becoming a country that doesn't live by its own principles and morals. That what's right for this is not right over there. Well, why not? If you have principles, it should be right all over the place. Whether you're white and beautiful or whether you're black and beautiful, we should have a similar plane for all. That's what we learned. There is no distinguishing for the brown people. But back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that even if you can't change it with your hand or your heart, you can at least change it with your heart. And for me, that can mean money. You can actually change things with your heart by hating it inside, but also just giving to things. Give a portion of your mind, of your heart, of your money, your sustenance, to change these things. And you will find in that there's huge opportunities. Right now, America stands at the precipice of a huge change. We've never seen some of the things that we're seeing right now. Even if we look at the presidential election, the Democratic Party lost something like 7 million votes. Just people didn't show up. They're disenfranchised. They don't see that they can make that change. Personally, I've had multiple doctors reach out to me and say, hey, listen, I need a loan. Can I get a loan? Doctors reaching out to me. What does that tell you about what society we're in right now? The Democratic Party, believe it or not, in this last election, if you look at people who make under 100,000 and over 100,000, people who make over 100,000 by and large voted for the Democratic Party. And people that make under 100 went to the Republican Party. Wait, I thought the Democratic Party was a party for people. So there's this confusion right now that's happening in America. We were a part of changing that. When we did the uncommitted vote and we got 46,000 votes to not only say we're uncommitted, but for the first time in what I understand to be American history, put the word Palestine on our ballots, where we said justice for Palestine, permanent ceasefire now, and 46,000 people joined that. That was change with our hands and with our voices. To me, Now we have a lot of these gubernatorial people that want to run for governor next year. They're now coming to us. I've personally met with 4 of them that want our votes because they see that change that happens. They see that when Governor Phil Murphy won, he won with 250,000 primary votes. Well, 46,000 votes could probably sway the difference between a very crowded field. You have that ability. Don't think for a second that you don't, because I know a lot of this stuff seems daunting. When I think about how big this problem is, I often reflect on this story that Imam Siraj told me, and I love this anecdote, where he had this young boy with him. And to entertain him, he kind of ripped out a magazine page, and the page had a picture of the whole world. He ripped it into a lot of different pieces, and he gave it to the boy as a puzzle that would take him a long time to solve. To his surprise, within a minute or two, the boy came back fully done. He said, "How did you do that?" He said, "Well, it was easy. On the back of that map was a picture of a man. So when I put that picture of the man back together, the whole world came back together." I would posit that when we start putting together our own people, our own community, that we will change the world. That we will actually come together here in America as this community, solving for things like food insecurity, solving for things like education, and through that, we will help change what's going on in the rest of the world. If you don't believe me, then listen to a person that from Palestine told us this. When we were sort of giving our sympathy to him, saying, "May God be with you in all the struggles that you have." He said, actually, the test isn't ours. God has put us in this situation, and he will take care of us. He said, the test is yours. What are you all going to do now that you have this opportunity in this free country where you have the autonomy, you have that agency, not only given to you as a Muslim by your prophet, but given to you by your country, that if you see something wrong, you change it with your hands, your mind, or your heart, and your words. So I will tell you, we should listen to our brothers and sisters and learn from them. Learn the perspective that what we have here is going to go away, whether it's today or tomorrow. But the work that you do will live on. It'll live on in terms of not only the impact to your neighbors here, but to the people around the world. And so if I could leave you with just one message, take that agency that you've been given and use it to its fullest. Assalamu alaikum.